This content was paid for by Netflix and created by Looper. When it comes to special effects, the less you realize you're seeing them, the better. The job of a visual effects team is to create imagery that's either impractical or impossible to shoot, and to do so in such a way that audiences remain engaged with the story instead of being caught up in the fabrication of the scenes. Of course, some visual effects are bound to be more noticeable than others. Diet Coke has been a consumer favorite since its introduction in 1982, launched after a lengthy period of product development. Since then, the sugar-free soda has earned legions of fans, including such celebrities fashion designer Karl Lagerfeld, who revealed to Harper's Bazaar that he drank Diet Coke, "from the minute I get up to the minute I go to bed." President Donald Trump has also been identified as a heavy Diet Coke drinker, with The Washington Post reporting that he averages a dozen cans per day, more than a gallon of the stuff. The product was an instant success, a testament to Coca-Cola's attention to detail when developing both the product itself and the marketing campaign that unleashed it. Anytime you see a movie scene involving outer space, pyrotechnics, high-speed chases, inhuman creatures, or superheroic feats, audiences know they probably got some major post-production support from effects artists. But not all of those computer-generated images are quite as obvious as others. And while the popularity of Diet Coke has seen its peaks and valleys over the years, Brand Finance reported that a 2018 redesign and relaunch proved to be successful enough to generate an uplift in sales that propelled Coca-Cola to a 19% increase in brand value compared to the previous year. Despite its ubiquity in the marketplace, how much do those who drink it really know about the diet soda? Read on to discover the untold truth of Diet Coke. The invention of Diet Coke was a cloak and dagger mission. Coca-Cola took its sweet time entering the diet soda market, with a company history of the product revealing the idea for a sugar-free version of Coke had been percolating for 2 decades. During the 1970s, health-conscious consumers began eschewing sugar. While this hurt sales of traditional soda, it was simultaneously creating a whole new market for sodas that could offer all the flavor and none of the sugar. Sometimes, movies bring in some VFX support for scenes that are so realistic and seamless that you might have never guessed they weren't traditional film shots. "We needed a big idea to come out of one of the toughest decades we'd ever seen," explained Coca-Cola planning manager Jack Carew, who was tapped to develop a sugar-free version of Coke. While the development of Diet Coke was a key priority for Coca-Cola, very few people within the company actually knew about the top-secret endeavor. It was an entrepreneurial, cloak-and-dagger operation in the purest sense, said Carew's colleague Jerry Bell, who worked with him on the Diet Coke project. Market forces drove the development of Diet Coke as the company attempted to reach a core demographic, identified as baby boomers who, as they became older and heavier, were ready to try a Coke alternative that wouldn't contribute as much to their expanding waistlines. The only difference between Diet Coke and Coke Zero Sugar is a chemical. You've never heard of. Diet Coke had been a fixture in the marketplace for more than 20 years when, in 2005, Coca-Cola launched a new, and very similar, product, Coke Zero, which would go on to coexist with Diet Coke until it was ultimately rebranded as Coke Zero Sugar in 2016. While the two products are similar, anyone who's ever done a taste test of the two can attest that Diet Coke and Coke Zero Sugar do exhibit markedly different tastes. According to an article in The Sun, Diet Coke has its own distinctive flavor that is quite different from Coca-Cola. Here's a look at some of those Netflix movie scenes you never knew used special effects. Look closely at Bird Box's river scene. You don't have to be blindfolded to overlook one of the movie magic moments in Bird Box. Coke Zero Sugar, on the other hand, is meant to mimic the taste of the original Coca-Cola, just without all that pesky sugar. The 2018 dystopian thriller took the internet by storm with its disturbing vision of a world that's been decimated by mysterious monsters who attack everyone who looks upon them. Audiences will undoubtedly notice some of the striking visual effects implemented in the first act of the film, as the deadly supernatural attackers hijack the minds of their victims with explosive and deadly consequences. Yet when it comes to the actual ingredients, what goes into making the two sodas is pretty much identical, save for one key difference. Coke Zero Sugar contains a chemical called sodium citrate, while Diet Coke contains citric acid. The reason why a can of regular Coke sinks in water while Diet Coke floats. Anyone who's ever stashed cans of Coke and Diet Coke in a cooler full of ice may have noticed an interesting phenomenon. As the ice melts, a can of Diet Coke will float up to the surface of the water, while regular Coke will sink to the bottom. As it turns out, there's a very simple scientific explanation for this. What you might have missed, though, is how special effects help to make the film's instantly iconic boat scene come together. Sandra Bullock stars in the film as Mallory, a woman who survives for several years by using a blindfold and raising her 2 children, boy, Julian Edwards, and girl, Vivian Lyra Blair, to rely on their hearing rather than their sight. After the threat of infected wanderers grows, though, Mallory decides to set out for the promise of safety with a nearby community. According to Business Insider, a can of Diet Coke weighs less than a can of Coke. But given that each can contains the same volume of liquid, 12 fluid ounces, what gives? The difference is in the density of the liquid. A 12-ounce can of regular Coke contains 39 grams of sugar, while the same-sized can of Diet Coke instead uses the artificial sweetener aspartame, which is significantly sweeter than sugar and requires far less to achieve the same level of sweetness. She knows the journey will be treacherous, as she'll not only have to travel without her sight, but she'll also have to navigate an unfamiliar river with 2 tender-age children in tow. The climactic scene of her rowing with her vulnerable kids is intense, thanks in no small part to the work of the visual effects team. This affects the density of each soda. Because so little aspartame is used to sweeten Diet Coke, the resulting liquid is actually less dense than water, allowing the can to float. Though the boat scene was partially filmed in a real-life waterway, the rushing waters and choppy waves that made the journey look even more perilous were added in during the post-production process. Visual effects supervisor Marcus Tormina told Digital Media World that the team utilized drones and 3D water simulations to make the water ride and rapids look as realistic as possible. The additional weight of the sugar, however, makes regular Coke denser than water, causing it to sink. There are no plans to tinker with the formula for Diet Coke when changing market forces led Coca-Cola to rejig the packaging of Diet Coke and launch some new Diet Coke flavors. One thing that the company never placed under consideration was adjusting the recipe or changing the flavor. The challenge, Tormina explained, was that the sequence needed to express the violence of the river and the danger the family was in but still look realistic. Additionally, Tormina and his team had to make sure their effects didn't overshadow the actors themselves. Judging by the final product, along with the other important visual element additions throughout the film, it was a job well done. Rev your engines for this murder mystery moment. You might not think a comedic caper about 2 fish out of water in Europe would need much visual overlay, but the effects team on 2019's murder mystery had a pretty heavy lift. The film features Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston as Nick and Audrey Spitz, a middle-class couple who embark on a very tightly budgeted European vacation but find themselves suddenly swept up in the company of billionaires, including one whose murder gets pinned on them. Much of the action of the film takes place in Monaco, but production on the picture actually took place half a world away in Montreal, Quebec, which means even the most innocuous landscapes had to be added into the background through green screen technology. One VFX-heavy scene takes place during the Grand Prix, as the character Juan Carlos Rivera, Luis Gerardo Mendez, races on the track while the Spitzes hobnob in the crowd. The drivers were filmed in front of a green screen so that the backdrop could be added in by the special effects artists at Cinesite, and they also spruced up Rivera's vehicle a bit to make it look more modern than the stunt version they used for filming. The same company was responsible for some of the other big effects shots throughout the picture, including the chase scene, and supervisor Holger Voss said that the team's job was to use as light a touch as possible with their effects implementation so as not to detract from the comedy performances of the cast. Hit the deck for this old guard scene with all of the spectacular fight sequences, massive landscapes, and supernatural elements featured throughout the old guard. It's probably no surprise that the film features a great deal of visual effects work. Director Gina Prince Bythewood's high-octane epic centers on a group of semi-immortal warriors who serve as undercover super mercenaries, stepping into the fights they deem worthy and changing the course of history. As Business Insider pointed out, even though Diet Coke had been losing market share, the product has remained a favorite of its devoted customers. "I don't think we're likely to change Diet Coke," CEO James Quincy said in a 2017 call with reporters. "It has a large following. Fans of the soda, he insisted, should have no fear that the formula and distinctive taste would be altered anytime soon. Though this team, which is led by Charlize Theron's Andy, works hard to keep themselves out of the spotlight, their identities are discovered by a pharmaceutical executive who wants to extract and sell their secret to long life. This sends them on the run from his machine gun hit squads, with battle shots that simply couldn't happen without visual effects support. But there are also some quieter scenes in the film that got some post-production pizzazz. After the team's newest recruit Niall Kiki Lane reveals her dreams about a woman who is locked in an iron coffin as she drowned again and again, we learn that this is Andy's first ally queen, Van Veronica Go. Diet Coke will be Diet Coke for a good while longer, he assured. While that following is indeed dedicated, it had also been shrinking. According to another Business Insider report, the successful launch of Coke Zero Sugar, which replaced Coke Zero, appeared to come at the expense of Diet Coke. During 2016, sales of Coke Zero increased by 3.5%, while Diet Coke sales dropped by 1.9% during the same timeframe. The surprising reason, Diet Coke, was originally Diet Coke. Longtime aficionados of Diet Coke may recall that when the product first launched, it had a different logo, and a slightly different name. That's because Diet Coke was originally Diet Coke, with a lowercase d, and there was actually an interesting legal justification behind that. According to a behind-the-scenes history of Diet Coke on the Coca-Cola corporate website, when the market plan was initially being developed there were words other than «diet» under consideration, such as «sugar-free» and «light». However, executives were wary of «sugar-free», as they feared it reflected poorly on sugar-laden original Coke. Meanwhile, «light» was already being used by a competitor and the company wanted to avoid comparisons with other sugar-free sodas. The word «diet», however, seemed to be the most fitting descriptive, but Coca-Cola's lawyers were insistent that the word remain lower-cased. The way the attorneys interpreted it, uppercase «diet», was a noun, which would have necessitated changing the trademark. Alongside Andy, Queen was captured in the medieval era and accused of witchcraft by villagers. Keeping «diet» lower-cased meant it was being used as an adjective, and therefore kept the legalities of the trademark intact. The reason why Diet Coke can ruin tooth enamel since childhood, everyone has heard warnings from parents and dentists that sugar will rot teeth. As Healthline explained, sugar does indeed encourage tooth decay, albeit indirectly, by combining with certain bacteria in the mouth to create an acid that eats away at tooth enamel and leads to cavities. A sugar-free soda would seemingly be far less harmful to teeth, but that has not turned out to be the case when it comes to Diet Coke. A 2015 research study undertaken by the University of Melbourne's Oral Health Cooperative Research Centre exposed human molars to 15 different beverages, including milk, sports drink, sugar-sweetened sodas, and 3 different sugar-free sodas. The two were ultimately separated, and Queen was trapped in an Iron Maiden and dropped to the bottom of the sea, where she has remained for 500 years. Though the exterior scene of Queen's punishment appears very natural, the waterfront was actually added in afterwards, with the actors filming with some props in front of a blue screen. Surprisingly, the study found that sugar-free soda and sugary soda were both equally bad for tooth enamel. And while sugary soda and sugar-free soda both erode enamel, the way that happens is actually different with Diet Coke, which contains certain ingredients, particularly phosphoric acid, that combine with calcium to weaken tooth enamel. As the study noted, polyol-based sugar-free products, such as Diet Coke, may decrease the risk of dental caries, aka visual effects supervisor Sarah Bennett told Art of VFX that some of the other, invisible, effects shots include the backdrops in the Moroccan marketplace and the spread of supplies and soldiers in the Afghanistan war zone locations. Stay away from the compound in El Camino. Breaking Bad fans might be surprised to learn that both of the major flashback sequences in the sequel film El Camino required some visual effects overhauls. One of them is the film's return to the compound where Jesse Pinkman, Aaron Paul, has been imprisoned for so many months. Even though parts of the exterior were rebuilt to match the original look of the grounds for the film, a lot of the compound scenes were filmed before a green screen, with the landscape added in later. For example, when Jesse opens the gate for Todd Jesse Plemons, the extensive exterior behind him appears to be natural, but it's actually just artwork, and the portions of the landscape that are visible through the windows of Jess's new lab are also made of movie magic. Meanwhile, The diner sequence that features his long-awaited reunion with Walter White, Bryan Cranston, also required some VFX support, as the windows were originally peering out to nothing but blue screens. Plus, even though Bryan Cranston did undergo a major makeover, getting fit with a bald cap to become Walt one last time, writer-director Vince Gilligan revealed that the shape was off, so visual effects were later used to firm up Walt's iconic head. Have Fun on the Farm in 1922. You'd be forgiven if you thought that the 2017 adaptation of Stephen King's horror novella 1922 was simply filmed on a cornfield, given how frequently this farmland is featured in the movie. Cavities, although the phosphoric acid will actually cause more dental erosion. But the VFX team at Siamese was actually responsible for much of the scenery. Just another reason to avoid that Diet Coke refill when eating out. Slumping sales led to new flavors of Diet Coke. By the mid-2010s, sales of Diet Coke were on a decidedly downward trajectory. By 2017, reported beverage marketing, sales of bottled water had, for the first time ever, surpassed soda to become America's top beverage category. The movie features Thomas Jane as Wilfred James, a Nebraskan farmer who will do absolutely anything to keep his farm from being sold, even if it means murdering someone he is supposed to love and protect. The growing popularity of bottled water was bad news for Diet Coke and other sugar-free sodas, as it was cutting directly into the category's market share. In response to Diet Coke's slumping sales, Coca-Cola made a big move. Much of the action takes place on his homestead, and surprisingly enough, this exterior is largely filmed on a green screen. Even the moments when Wilfred walks alongside his crops feature a massive amount of digital add-ons, which is a testament to both the imagination of the actors and the seamlessness of the artwork. Audiences may also be surprised to learn that the exterior shots of the town of Hemmingford home are also greatly enhanced by visual effects. According to a 2018 press release, the Diet Coke can underwent a redesign to arrive at a slim new look. Everything from the buildings to the cars to the people walking around in the background were added into the backdrop in post-production, proving that even the simplest vintage settings might be sprinkled with cinematic upgrades that you would never even notice. Keep your eye on the sky during this 6 Underground stunt. When it comes to Michael Bay's movies, it's practically a given that a very busy special effects team will be a big part of the process. That is certainly the case in 6 Underground, which features plenty of explosions, major car chases, and wicked fight scenes that benefit from the beauty of computer-generated imagery. But even a movie that's so packed with CGI can still have some enhancements that might surprise you. The film features Ryan Reynolds as a former billionaire who starts his own elite non-governmental task force of so-called ghosts, to take down some of the world's most despicable villains. In addition, 4 new flavors were introduced targeting millennials, with original Diet Coke joined by Twisted Mango, Ginger Lime, Zesty Blood Orange and Feisty Cherry varieties. Diet Coke is one of the most iconic brands loved by millions of fans in North America, said Rafael Acevedo, Coca-Cola North America's group director for Diet Coke. Each member of his team has their own unique talents, including Ben Hardy, who uses parkour to help him make some elaborate escapes. As Acevedo explained, the company's goal was to be bold, think differently and be innovative. The ultimate intention, he explained, was to ensure that the company stay true to the essence of Diet Coke, while recasting the brand, in hopes of reeling in a new generation of Diet Coke drinkers. A centenarian credited Diet Coke for her long life in 2018. Teresa Rowley of Grand Rapids, Michigan celebrated her 104th birthday and shared the secrets to her longevity in an interview with WZZM-13. One of those secrets was her longtime Diet Coke habit, revealing that she drank at least 1 per day. "I drink it because I like it," she explained. Not only did Bay's team employ real-life parkour jumpers and pyrotechnics to create these scenes, but they also made these moments even more heart-stopping with the digital addition of severe heights and an imposing cityscape below the biggest jumps. Unlike many other films, green and blue screens were not used to prepare for the effects in 6 Underground because, as VFX supervisor Richard R. Hoover explained to American Cinematographer magazine, he and Bay decided to make the effects feel as photographic as possible, by dedicating all of their lighting to the subjects of the shot rather than the screens behind them. "I'm going shopping Wednesday, and I need more Diet Coke. I have a bag full of empty Diet Coke cans that I need to return to buy more Diet Coke." Of course, Rowley couldn't claim that she'd been drinking it all her life, Given that Diet Coke wasn't introduced until 1982, Rowley would have been in her late 60s at the youngest before receiving the first taste of her favorite beverage. Looking back at her long life, Rowley recalled that when she turned 100, she never thought I'd be 104. I thought I'd pass away by that time, but it just didn't happen. Diet Coke may actually lead to more weight gain than regular Coke, given that the word diet is right there in the name of Diet Coke. It would be easy to assume that drinking Diet Coke would be better for one's waistline than regular sugar-laden Coke. Not only is that not the case, but a research study indicated that drinking diet soda can actually lead to weight gain, not weight loss, particularly in older consumers. A 2015 study published in the Journal of the American Geriatrics Society drew a direct link between diet sodas such as Diet Coke and obesity in people aged 65 and older. The study monitored 749 subjects and found that those who drank diet soda demonstrated an increase in waist circumference that was nearly 3 times that of those who didn't drink diet soda. University of Texas researcher Sharon Fowler, lead author of the study, determined that increasing diet soda intake was associated with escalating abdominal obesity, which may increase cardiometabolic risk in older adults. Why Diet Coke increases the craving for calories. Another study, undertaken by the University of Sydney in Australia, followed on that earlier research to determine why sugar-free soda was associated with weight gain and not weight loss. The study came to an interesting conclusion. Drinking Diet Coke and other types of artificially sweetened diet sodas can lead the brain to crave more calories than it otherwise would. According to a press release for the 2016 study, which was published in the Cell Metabolism Journal, researchers confirmed that diet soda actually makes those who drink it feel hungrier. As a result, those who drink artificially sweetened soda such as Diet Coke will ultimately eat more than they would if they were drinking a sugar-sweetened beverage. The study found that the brain expects sweetness to be accompanied by calories. When the brain's pleasure center experiences the sweet taste without the accompanying calories, the brain then recalibrates, and causes the brain to crave the calories it was expecting to receive. After chronic exposure to a diet that contained the artificial sweetener sucralose, we saw that animals began eating a lot more, said the study's lead researcher, Associate Professor Greg Neely. A Diet Coke and fries isn't the best food combination for your health. A 2018 study co-authored by Yale researcher Dr. Dana Small dug deeper and came up with some even more surprising findings. Not only can drinking Diet Coke and other diet sodas lead to craving more calories, but that becomes considerably more pronounced when the soda is combined with carbohydrates. According to the study, consuming carbohydrates and artificial sweeteners together will lead to confusion in the brain, blunting its response in metabolizing what is perceived to be sugar but actually isn't, what Small describes as a circuit change within the brain. If this blunting effect keeps happening on an ongoing basis, difficulties can arise when the brain and body attempt to process the nutrients but aren't receiving accurate information. If you're going to have a diet drink, don't have it with French fries, Small told Inverse. Have the diet drink by itself, and if you're going to have a diet drink, give an hour on either side and it should be fine, at least in small quantities. A viral infographic about the dangers of Diet Coke was debunked back in 2015. A shocking infographic about the dangers of Coke became a viral sensation as it ricocheted throughout the internet. That was followed by another focusing on the hazards of Diet Coke, claiming to detail the scientific effects on the human body 1 hour after drinking Diet Coke.
However, BuzzFeed broke down the infographic and reached out to some actual scientists to see if the information detailed in the infographics was accurate. As it turned out, the scientists were able to debunk many of the claims in both infographics, particularly one alleging that the combination of caffeine and aspartame in Diet Coke creates an addictive high similar in the way cocaine works. Dr. Michael A. Taff, an addiction researcher from the Scripps Research Institute, explained to BuzzFeed that the claims in the infographic were overblown and should be taken with a grain of salt. According to Taff, the amount of caffeine found in a can of Diet Coke is not going to have very large functional effects in most people, and particularly not those who consume caffeinated beverages somewhat frequently. A controversial chemical was removed from Diet Coke in 2008. Diet Coke removed a controversial ingredient from the soda's formula. Diet Coke revealed plans to stop using sodium benzoate. The company's announcement came after the release of research concluding the chemical could cause cell damage, resulting in changes to the DNA that were linked to hyperactivity, Parkinson's disease, and cirrhosis of the liver. The 2007 study from molecular biologist Dr. Peter Piper of Sheffield University, reported The Telegraph, was not mentioned by Coca-Cola when the company confirmed it would be removing sodium benzoate from Diet Coke. According to a statement given to the Daily Mail, Coca-Cola was removing the ingredient as a response to increasing consumer demand for more natural products. We are continuously listening to our consumers' thoughts about ingredients, a Coca-Cola spokesperson told the Daily Mail. For a number of years, we have been moving towards non-artificial colors, flavors, and preservatives where possible in our drinks. We are looking to phase out the use of sodium benzoate where technically possible. A mixed drink with Diet Coke is more inebriating than one with regular Coke. When having a mixed drink, there's a difference between mixing booze with regular Coke and Diet Coke that goes far beyond the disparity in taste. A 2015 study on diet soda found some surprising results, indicating that drinks mixed with artificially sweetened soda led to a higher concentration of alcohol as measured in the breath. Researcher Dennis Thoms was working on a similar study, and told NPR why this was. As he explained, it is not that diet soda accelerates intoxication. Rather, the sugar in regular soda slows down the rate of alcohol absorption. However, the study determined that the subjects didn't notice a difference in their own levels of intoxication based on whether they were drinking diet soda or regular soda, which could place them at higher risk of drinking and driving. I wanted to know if the choice of a mixer could be the factor that puts a person above or below the legal limit, the study's author, Northern Kentucky University's Cecile Marchinsky, told NPR of why she undertook that particular line of research.